Hi everyone, the lighting is not fantastic, but I feel so inspired to do a fun-based illustration and to inject some humor into my stamp sets and my illustrations of the girls. As you know, typically they are these kind of sassy girls that, you know, like to strike a pose or are completely unbothered by what's going on around them. However, today I want to bring some element of humor. And the reason I feel inspired is that I just finished filming a video with the Oliver Jeffers books, the little collection that I purchased for Mason, and that kind of ignited a sense of humor within illustration. So I just want to push the boundaries and see what comes out. I mean, this video might never make it past the editorial stage, but we will see what happens. So here is the idea. After I finished flicking the Oliver Jeffers books, the idea that I had immediately is to create this pose where she's trying to lift like a super heavy weight. And so I will position her legs in a kind of like a sort of half square shape. And then she'll be lifting the weight, which will be super heavy and kind of, you know, bending and exaggerating things. But also her sort of face, I think I will play around with the face a little bit today. Maybe I'll change around where the pupils go to make it look a little bit more funny and exaggerated. So that's the idea. Let's see where it comes out. Also, I'm thinking I want to use colored pencils in the way that Oliver Jeffers uses them to emphasize a little bit of detail. So he never overdoes things. Whatever detail he puts in, it's always super neat and interesting. And then the rest of the detail is there because it tells us a story. So essentially how I try to tell a story here a little bit, it's very kind of simple. And today I want to tell like a funny story. So let's see where it takes us. And I think injecting a little bit of humor into your illustration always lifts one's mood. And I think it just goes in line with a bit of sunshine that keeps popping in and out. So let's start. What I'm going to use is the round acrylic block, which is available alongside the stamp sets on alyonacreates.com. So we have the FOTD, which is Face of the Day stamp set, and the moving doll. Haven't decided what exactly element I will use from which set, but basically you can combine the two and you can, for example, use this face but then change the eyes at the eyebrows. There is no eyebrows here, you have just one face, the lips and eyes. So you could add eyebrows if you wanted to. Keep in mind these are all attached. If you wanted to separate them, you just can cut in the middle and then separate them, or like, you know, extend them. And then we have lips, different eyes. You could do the same with the eyes if you wanted to change the rotation of them. Then you could also use the body, for example, and change the face shape. Just keep in mind that it will elongate your illustration by about 1 centimeter, I'd say. So that's something to keep in mind. Okay, let's go. So for my ink, I'm going to use Tim Holtz Distress Ink in Tattered Rose, which isn't very useful for you because you won't be able to see it. But if I use any other dark ink, later the illustration won't come out as well, because if there are certain lines that I need to overlay or you mistakenly stamp something that you don't want to be visible later, with the darker ink you don't have that flexibility, whereas you do with the light ink. So what I will do is, I think I will use the round face, and I'll put it up here because I think I want to do something funny with her hair. All right, this is, as you can see, I have a vague idea, but nothing too exact, so it will happen as we go through together, like as we create this illustration. So for the body, it'll be nice and simple. Next thing is neck. So neck is right under the lips. But by the way, be your own artist and use whatever you want. If you want the neck to be super long, or why not use one of these bits that can be used as arms, as parts of legs, etc. So you do you. This is the whole fun part of my stamp sets. So here I'm just going to do straight neck, roughly focusing the illustration in the middle. And then the body part, which is the top, the torso, is right underneath the neck. The way it's sort of shifted to the side is simply to be able to get it in. Okay, so here is the torso, and then the bottom half of the body. That's going here. Look at the sun, it just can't decide whether it wants to be out or not. Okay, so now to the legs. So the legs is going to be the Humour part. So I'm going to exaggerate them. The point is not to be flattering pose. The point is to have them kind of wide open and super exaggerated. So just going to do a bit of this, but we're not doing a split. So we want the legs, the calves, to come down. And the calves, we're going to exaggerate them and make them super, super long. So here's the thing. I'm going to stamp the calves like a good centimeter and a bit below the kneecap. Same here. And I'll show you a close-up so you can see a bit better. So far, this is what we have. Okay, quite an unusual pose compared to everything else I've done before. But like I said, I'm not looking for pretty here, I'm looking for funny. And then she will be holding that weight, and generally, the way I've seen it, they kind of hold it with arms straight down because the weights are super heavy. So there isn't any other way of holding them. And then the arm part, I'll use this one here. So she's going to have arms like that. So the idea is she'll be holding the weight right here. Okay, so that should be enough. Roughly we've got the pose, but I think I will focus on the face now. In terms of the face, let's see. So I think what I'm going to do, potentially, is audition these eyes here. Now, how different are they to the previous eyes? So this is how different they are. They have a thicker bottom line, so they're kind of outlined, and the shape is slightly different. So the shape goes up a little bit earlier than it does here, and also the pupils looking down. So I think what I will exaggerate with your pupils is I will wipe them when stamping and just bring them in a bit closer, so that will give us a bit of a funnier eye. So let's do that. also what you can do, no, this is actually enough. I was going to say you can basically extend them, but with this frame it goes from edge to edge, so it's fine. So the eyes I'm setting quite low, and then the question is what sort of lip and nose I should go for. So what you can do here, because they're all transparent, we can do a funny lip. I mean, at this point any lip will look funny because I set the eyes so low. So maybe I'll go for this lip. It kind of looks funny enough. So her nose will be literally in between her eyes, which, I mean, the nostrils. The nose should be between your eyes, but yeah, usually the nose bridge is. Okay, so we've got that. Now, in terms of the hair, I will just use a pencil and kind of have it really scribbly. So the next thing to do is to focus on the body. So for that, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to line out the body parts. All right, so meanwhile, I have lined out the posture. So I'll show you again what I have done, and you can see it quite well, how I have avoided certain lines and basically connecting the top part of the leg to the bottom and leaving this kind of gap here, as you can see. And then for the shoes, I decided, instead of going with the ballerina pumps that are included in the set, which are quite tiny, I decided to put some longer ones, so to make her feet extended as well. So for that way, if she stood up, she'd be super tall girl. And I think also it adds a little bit extra drama because her legs are so long, the feet to be long as well. So just to go with it. So essentially what I'm going to do next is audition some colors of the pencil to create a bend type of a rail where the weights are attached to suggest how heavy it is. Okay, so if it's just straight, I think it's going to look a bit boring. We want to exaggerate it. And I also want to use some colors that you wouldn't essentially think. So again, if we think about Oliver Jeffers, the use of color is so impactful. So I'm going to audition a couple of colors for that now. So here's what I'm going to do. I've got my sketchbook that I use purely for pencils. And I'm going to audition and create some color palettes here for this particular piece. And let's see, so I'm thinking for the rail to perhaps go either with a dark gray or an intense color. So because I'm not certain whether the color might be a bit too strong, I will kind of get through a few things here just to give myself an idea what I like. I think her hair, I want to be fiery and sort of orangey to correlate and look good with the hot pink. So here I've got a number of colors. Let's see, what do we have? Burnt ochre, no, that won't do. So we've got, well, let's go for these four. So we've got russet. That's a good hair color. We have got natural russet. It's a bit dark, so we could use that for darkening elements. So let me just put them in the order that I have swatched them. Like so. And then we have, oh, hold on. Russet and natural russet. Like that. And then we have carnelian. or just super fiery orange, and that would look fantastic here. Or we've got terracotta. So the idea is to have mostly like a watercolor wash, and then have the pencil as this kind of like a detail work, really. So I'm going to write down the names, and I think I'm quite happy with the colors. I might put together a little color palette for the weights, because what I want to do is probably have one big weight and then this, and then maybe two more. So to do that, I will need to have like bright colors there. And to go with it, I think this color will go nicely, the red. And then this probably is a bit too cool toned, yeah. I'll swatch it anyhow. What else could I use from here? Let's see if I go for something like purplish red. Needs to be something bright. Now this could do nicely. So if we just had like these three colors, because this goes within the oranges. Okay, so I'm going to write down the names, and I think so far I'm happy with the palette. So for the weights, this is the trio that I will use. This hot pink and this red and this yellow. So I think that works well. Here are the colors, and then these colors at the top are sort of the colors that I'm going to go for. And I think, having swatched things out, I'll probably go for this intense dark, and again give her this like a black one number, so it should be all right. I might give her some ruching at the top here to conceal the shoulder marks or something. So we'll find out in a second. So here we go. I kind of look through them and remove two colors, Payne's Grey 60% and terracotta, because I think we have enough oranges here, and scarlet, I don't think we'll need scarlet as well. Purplish red also not in here. So basically we're looking at these kind of colors. So what I find quite useful is then isolating these colors. I'm going to put these back in here and isolating a color palette just to clean things up, so I don't need to write down the names anymore, because I can quickly refer to the top colors. So what we have here is essentially this lovely color palette, and so this is the weight color. And then for the hair, I've got three oranges here, which means I can play around with shadows if I needed to, and create like a middle tone and the gingerbread tone, which all together will be looking lovely with all the colors, bringing them in. So these are the 7 colors essentially that I will use in pencils, and the rest of the colors will be quite light. So for the lips, I haven't decided yet. The lips, I think, will be the last part of the illustration. So first of all, let's focus on the weights. So if I do the weights at the bottom of the page, I then will need to layer some sort of piece of paper or something to protect when I go onto the face, because I will be potentially smudging it and working on top. So it would make more sense to start with the top and go down, but I want to start with the weights to then bounce back with the hair, so kind of match things around. That way makes more sense to me. So what I'm going to do is just create sort of these kind of like knuckles, as if she's holding the weight. So this is going to be very, very scribbly. like so, because remember we're doing an illustration. And then I'm going to go ahead and create this like super big weights. So at this point, the scribblier the better. And then remember making them slightly smaller as they go down. Like so, and that is our weight done. So it looks super heavy. I mean, if I wanted to, I could really exaggerate the size of the discs to make them look even heavier. So I'm going to do that. So this is something you can correct as you go. And what I also like is blending the two pencils together, which is, you know, makes it even more impactful. So make it look like these are pencils. Don't be worried about them. Literally just enjoy that childhood experience of drawing and illustrating when things don't need to be careful. You just have fun with it. That's the whole point. So okay, I think this is now better. It's more impactful. It's just a heavy weight. And also it's sort of the size of her head, which is what you kind of want to create that, you know, the shape of 3. I'm going to dust things and we're going to come back. Maybe I'll just make this line a bit stronger right here. Just thicken it up. And that's it. Okay. So now let's focus on her face. So we've got the color palette set right here. So I'm going to just cover this up a little bit. And what I'm going to do next is try to illustrate her face. So with the mouth, what I'm going to do is try to create an open mouth for that extra bit of drama. And what I'm going to do is just, I mean, it might be too much, but why not? So just open mouth like that. And then the nose area. Here I'm just going to line out the eyes, and I like, if it's a big area like this, what I do like to do is just create, or fill the area with another pen. So I'm going to just do that and bring in the pupils a bit closer. So now I'm going to do, I mean, it's hard to combine fashion style with humor. You know, how do you make them look kind of sassy and have humor as well? It's not easy, but I'll give my best shot. So possibly setting the eyes at a bit of an angle would give you a bit more, hopefully. I don't know. We'll see how humorous this will end up. It might not be, but we'll see. Okay, so we've got the 3 oranges here for the hair. Now for the hair, I'm just going to have the colors here to refer to, and I'm going to put them in this range. So what I want is to give her that kind of like a fringe. Again, that will create a bit of fun element. And then I want to give her these sort of buns. They're looking more like ears, so I'm just going to round them up like so, so they look more like buns, and then just scribble inside again. Just have fun. The good thing about pencil is it's an immediate way of bringing impact to your illustration without, you know, worrying whether you mess something up or not. So in terms of depth, we're going to add this color, which I think is the darkest one. So the top of the bun and the bottom of the bun with a little bit of the darkness just towards the roots. Every girl has roots problems. Speaking of which, I haven't done a catch-up yet, which I'm kind of dreading to do because, well, not dreading, but I've been putting it off for some reasons, which I don't know how much I should share or not. So I'm still contemplating, but one of the things is the root situation. So I'm going to go into this yellow now to bring a bit of that yellow in, but not too much. So my stylist, she has left, and she has left so unexpectedly that I basically ended up in the hands of another one, and yeah, now I'm looking for a new stylist. So anyway, I'm going to add this bit of yellow in here and a bit more of the orange just down here, like so. And a bit of this red just blending through. Okay, is this the red? No, that's the dark. It's the red that I wanted. Okay, so here we go. Hair is done and looking lovely. She is looking quite funny, I think. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the same dark pencil here to bring in to her body. So it's okay if it comes out a bit out of the lines because this is a pencil and you want it to have impact. If you wanted something like solid and staying within the lines, you could always use a different medium, but I'm just going to go ahead and bring this color throughout the illustration. So now what's left to do in the face before I start adding kind of watercolor is to line out the face contour. And then we start adding colors. So, by adding colors, I mean to the skin. If you see there's a little mark here, I mean, at that point you shouldn't be bothered, but I'm just going to try and erase it. So skin, what I like the best for skin is using some Tombow markers. And for the Tombow markers, I've got some new ones. I've got loads of lovely colors now. And what I'm going to do is use some of these and some of that. What's this one? 947. Don't quite remember what 947 is. But it might be the color that I'm looking for or not. So there's some redness that I want to bring into her skin. And to do that with, I think, is it this color? I think it might be this. No, that would be the peach one. So it's the 977 I'm looking for. 977. No, it can't be that. Is it? We'll find out. 977. Okay, so no, it's this one. So 977 is not the color I had in mind. Alright, so let's go for it. So we're going to, first of all, just to remind myself of these colors. So I'm going to go for the 942. And the way I'm going to do this is make sure there is no traces of the pencil on the skin, because this is water soluble, so we'll just drag that cramp. So here's what we're doing. Firstly, we're just gonna cover most parts of her skin. I haven't said, but I usually do. Just make sure whatever you're using for the lines, that it is water soluble. I mean, no, the other way. God. Waterproof. So we haven't done any eyebrows. Now, I think eyebrows would be quite a good thing to do here. Now, how do we create surprise in the face? To be honest with you, let's just finish off on the... This is how I work. This is how my brain works when I do illustrations. This is why I tend to not embark onto too complicated projects when I film, because I feel like it's going to be all over the place for you to watch. But let me know if you like that kind of raw element of illustrations, whether you're learning from it. So... Oh, no, why is this green? I don't need it to be green. Oh. So it looks like my brush had some residue paint from something before. Okay, now we're on to clean water. So I'm just going to blend the Tombow a little bit. So essentially what we want is just a blended look. And now I'm going to set it with heat gun and go over it a few number of times just to create depth to the skin. As I have dried the first layer of color, I just realized I want to round up the top part of her swimsuit or whatever she's wearing there. And I'm going to create a really fine point to do that with, to have a bit more control. Like so, before we go in with the water, like that. So now we're going to do second layer of this paint. And the same thing. So here I'm not blending as much on the second one. Just bringing in a little bit of color. Okay. Again, we'll dry it and then I will go over with the 947. Now, in the very kind of tip, or the very close to the line, basically, just on one side, we're creating a strong shadow line. Like so, and I think I might just avoid it on this side of the body. I'll see how I feel. So immediately adding a bit of water like so. Again, maintaining the line mostly. So I think that looks good. So I might just repeat it just in certain areas here, maybe on her knee a little bit. Okay, so that's it. Now let's move on to the face. I will come back a little bit to the other side after all, because it looks like I forgot this side. So I'm just going to add it in some areas. So a little bit like a broken up line on her arm and a bit of a broken up line on her leg, just to have less of it, so it's not exactly the same as on the other side. So that's it. Illustrating face is my favorite part. I'm bringing color into it as well because it's part of the creating that beauty look and the fashion around it. So what I'm going to do before I do anything is the eyebrows. Like I said, the eyebrows are so important, and it would be a good thing to practice somewhere. Or if you want to use from this set, you could also do that, because I do have some that create different kind of look. So if you turn this one upside down, she becomes angry. You could do a monobrow. That would look interesting, but I think it might just disrupt a little bit. So how do we create that face of heaviness, like you're lifting something and you really tensing up? So think about it, of how you would play with your face and how that essentially is going to set the mood of what's going on. Okay, so what I decided to do is I was getting some inspiration, and from the illustrations where I used to use my stamp set, I think maybe this one, and here I've stamped this eyebrow, the first one, but what I'm going to do this time, I'm going to stamp it separately. So first I'm going to stamp this one. So if you don't want to cut them apart, this is what you can do. I'm just looking for an extra acrylic block. So essentially put your brow on your block and add ink just to the brow that you want to do first. I'm going to do this one first, so her left, or my side, my left. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise it just to create that kind of like surprise look. And I'm going to do the same to the other. So I'm going to make sure the second or the first one is nice and clean. And then the second one, we're going to also create that sort of raised eyebrow. And I think that is quite cute. So what I'm going to do here, potentially, is first of all, let's do the eyes. So I've got the 01. Now I need the 05. So that's the 05. And I'm just going to fill in this eyeliner area here. Where is my bit here so I don't smudge the pencils? Smudging it also can be part of illustration style, because you are working with colored pencils, so it's fine. It's not the end of the world, but I like it to keep neat. So what I'm gonna do is now do the same on the other side, so the other eye. And then as I go, I will try to match whatever I've done on the first eye. So the first eye has a big black line underneath, so I will try to mimic that, like so. Okay, more or less it's matching. And now with the finer, the 01, I'm just going to create a nice bushy eyebrows, just following the line, like so. Just think of how the brows grow, and I'm going to go with the trend, which is basically super bushy, and they're kind of brushed up. Not something I think is very flattering in actual fact, but in illustration, yes please. You may find that one side you'll be happier than the other, and that's basically whichever side is more dominant. One eyebrow may look more natural than the other, so I'm going to elongate it here as well. Okay, so I think she's looking funny for sure. Okay, also semi-match the brows, as we always say. They're not twins, they're not sisters, they're cousins, something like that. That is it. And then I'm going to add a little earring here. I always like to add little studs like so. I mean, they're ears, so there should be something on them. Give it a few moments to settle, for the ink to settle. And although it's waterproof, you may find that it just kind of needs just to dry fully. And then we're going to go in with the Tombows again. Okay, so what I typically do is add the complexion color first. Once I've done that, I then go in and add color to the lips and the cheek and all of that. So that should be enough-ish. Just on the side here. Okay, let's go in. Remember, we'll do the same as we did with the body, so there will be layers. Okay, so I'm going to set it in. So now I'm going to also add that nose bridge. The way I do this is add a bit of like kind of like a curved line. In the beginning it looks weird, but then just immediately I soften it. And all you're left with is just that bit of line there. And again, just adding a little bit of depth. So this is now second layer of color. And the next layer we will start adding other colors to deepen it slightly. Okay, so I'm going to also add 026, which I typically don't. But this color I find will work really well with some of the yellows that we used in the illustration. So I'm just going to add a little bit of it, not that much essentially. And I'm just going to do it once. And kind of over the top layering, hardly leaving any visible on its own, I'm going to add the burnt sienna, as I always do, which is 947. Okay, so let's show you what it looks like. This is looking quite good actually. I do like it, so I may leave that color and just add this very dark a little bit here, just to blend through. And also I'm going to add a touch of this darker color right on her nose, like that, and then adding water here just to blend it, and it looks lovely actually. It looks like coffee stain. So I think I really love this combo. Beautiful. It goes really well with that orange hair. So at this stage, all that needs to be done is look at her face in general and see where you need to add a little bit more color. So for instance, this part of the forehead looks a little bit weird, so I'm just going to kind of add a little bit of color there. Also just on her kind of side of the face and the bottom, and wherever else, just a little touch, just to bring these sort of different colors together, because otherwise it just looks kind of unfinished. So I'm just blending this out. You don't want it to be just completely white of the page. I mean, if there is a little bit of that whiteness popping throughout here and there, that's fine. But if it's completely white, then it just looks a bit weird. So also going over where you just added that final layer of the color. And at this point, we're ready for the blush, eyes and the lips. Okay, on to the blush, 772. Very light little bit of a blush. Immediately followed with a bit of water, just dabbed on and around, just to kind of create a very light flash of color. Then onto the eyes, and I'm trying to find my pencil that I like to use. It must be hiding somewhere. There it is. So it's the sepia 10%. Always making sure it's a nice sharp point. As I'm creating this character, the name that is popping in my mind is Ella. So if you're thinking of then maybe creating a story, like a longer story, think of the names. It helps to go with the character, and then, you know, maybe you can develop a longer story, and a story that has a beginning and a middle and an end. So who knows what happens next. So for her lips, I have this lovely new color, which I think, yeah, that will be good. Just going to add that from the Tombow. That kind of brings everything together. This is the 703. And I suspect I'll need to layer it a couple of times to create a bit of dimension to her lip, as we don't want it to look flat. I'm going to make it look nice and plump. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do next is just add a little touch more of this color just around the very bottom and around the very top to make it super, super vibrant. And then hardly any water on the brush. Just blend the edges. And what that creates, I will show you a close-up of. here we go. So, in my opinion, she's a fun little character. What do you think? Let me know down below. But I think I might turn her into like a kid's book story or something. That'll be fun. One more thing. So what I did just now is I got my finest fine liner that I own, which is a 005. This is the micron, and it really is the tiniest little nib you can imagine. And I used that to create a gap, not a gap, but like a little line to suggest teeth, because before that it looked like she just had one tooth sticking out. It looked a bit, I mean, funny is a good thing, but it just looked a bit weird. So with the line there, it now clearly suggests that there is teeth there, and I think that also adds a little bit of character. But also I decided to bring in this red color, which is at the moment the color that hasn't been repeated throughout. So we've got some of that yellow in the hair, we've got some of that neon pink in the lip, but we don't have this red anywhere else. And remember how I wanted to create something on her shoulders? So I thought I'll just add these little marks like so. And that actually, again, such a little element, but it just creates that bit of fun that you want and pulls the color through the illustration. So there we go. Now she's definitely done, and she's so gorgeous. You could of course go ahead and add some detail on her ballerina palms and, you know, just create more detail as you go. You could bring some, maybe, oh, there's one thing I forgot to do, which is my signature look, is the choker. That is a must-have. I do like a bit of a choker, and I tend to do a double choker just because the necks are so long that I enjoy a double choker. So actually I wanted a 05. It's more intense. There we go. Now she's definitely done. Oh, lashes. Oh my god, how could I forget lashes? Let's do the lashes. There we go. Now my girl is definitely finished. Here she is. I mean, isn't she cute? I think she's my favorite, like, ever illustration that I have created. She's such a character. She's a little pocket rocket or firecracker. That's it. She's a little firecracker. All right. Let me know what you think. Thanks so much for watching. I had a blast creating this, literally. So I hope you had a fun time watching it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.